Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation at White Plains. We gather in the light of four truths. It's a blessing you were born. It matters what you do. Your experience of the divine is true. And an important reminder, you don't have to go it alone. Our welcome this morning comes from words adapted from the Reverend Gresham Haley. God runs late for church. Today, God is running late, trying to find their seat, scanning the room for someone they know or someone they don't. God's feeling evangelical, but not in a judgy way. Mysterious, but not manipulative. God can't stop thinking about the James Webb Telescope and how the possibility that time is not linear, which God might have guessed from the never-ending urgency of finding a House Speaker, and the likelihood that sometime in the coming week, Halloween candy will have to be bought and then hidden so that they don't snack on it before it's time to give it out. God is tired of grief and white supremacy and intolerance and earthquakes and hurricanes and flooding and the warming of the oceans. God's heart breaks. God is tired of war. Not to mention they would rather have slept later today. And God thinks I am really damp from yesterday's rain, and I'm really breathless from all those stairs from the lower parking lot. And of course, we're all like, no kidding, God, can't you do something about that? But God's hearing aid batteries have run out, and they haven't had time to order some more, or that's what they say when asked and can hear the question, but really, that last emergency room visit maxed out their credit cards, and their partner's been working DoorDash for some extra cash, but it's not enough, and God just really wants to be present. Stop worrying about everything. Sing, breathe, and laugh. From the back, families are dressed for a morning out or for the soccer game scheduled for after church, and they are seated in sometimes comfortable wooden chairs. We got you, God, we say. We'll settle in, we'll be present, and we'll sing. We'll tell stories. We'll breathe deep, and we'll remember ourselves and offer whole galaxies of gratitude for all of this beauty, for brilliant autumn leaves and full apple trees, pumpkin bread, and the Fat Bear contest, for protest letters and Taylor Swift registering 35,000 new voters from her fan base from a single Instagram post. Entire villages of people are saying, "You're safe here, God. Your creation is not yet done creating you." If you're new here today and you're visiting here in this room, please swing by that welcome table in the back and say hello. And if you're with us for the first time online, please take a moment to click the link in the chat and let us know how you'd like to be connected. Later in the service, we'll share joys and sorrows from our individual lives. So if you're here and in person, please add yours to the book. They're right in the back over there. For those online, you can type yours in the chat. And now we'll invite the choir and Reverend Kimberley to share our introit and chalice lighting.
This flame an invitation to a white, wide, bright circle.
At the beginning of the pandemic, when we all went online, we started some online programming. That's when Adam started playing his Friday afternoons online. We had lunch together online, several things. And one of the other things we did was we started story time. So we had story time initially pretty often, and there were various readers in the beginning, and then who kept it going?
Miss Barbara Mayer, could you please stand up for us? Everybody say, hi, Barbara.
So how many books have you all read? They meet every week. Every week. How many books have you all read together now?
No, way more than
Thank you, Barbara. It's meant a lot.
It meant a lot to me. I love doing it. I love getting to know the kids. And the day we were reading stories, it was a Wednesday, I think, at that time. It was my 80th birthday that day. And people said to me, well, of course, you're not going to be reading to children on your birthday. I said, oh, yes, I am, because I love it. And these two made a huge birthday card for me that they showed me on Zoom. It was, I'll never forget my 80th birthday.
It definitely means a lot that Barbara reads to us, especially as people get older, they grow out of story time. And so I've gotten that question a lot, but I love Barbara so much. She is more than just a story time reader now. She is a part of our family, and I know her, and we love her so very much.
And I love them so much. And one time I said to Nora, well, one of these days, you're going to be too old. You're not going. And Nora said, oh, I'm going to listen to your stories until I go to college.
So today we will be reading a book called I Am Me, a book of authenticity by Susan Verde.
There are things about me that make me different. Sometimes I stand out in a crowd.
Sometimes I am not seen at all, and I feel alone.
I start to ask myself, why can't I blend in?
Fit the mold.
Maybe I'm a little too little, or maybe too much.
But when I stop and look, I see nothing in the world is exactly the same. Difference is what makes life beautiful and miraculous.
And when I show who I truly am,
I can find my joy, my spark.
I have something to contribute. I can't hold back or hold in.
I am someone to be celebrated. I am me.
I can have my own style and decide how I want to show up in the world.
I can be grateful for my hair, my skin, my size, because they are all mine. I can be proud of my body and thankful for what it can do.
I can embrace that I am perfectly imperfect because that is what makes me interesting.
I can dance to my own rhythm anytime I want to move and groove.
I can learn from others who express themselves with confidence, even when it's hard.
I can be a role model for someone who is afraid to show their own true colors.
I can celebrate things in this world
that I decide are most meaningful to me.
I can love anyone I choose fully and completely with all my heart.
I can notice that every creature, small and grand, has something unique and necessary.
I can know that community, connection, and acceptance exists, and I will find them.
I can surround myself with those who see me, stand up for me, and support me.
I can be okay knowing that not everyone will understand me because I have love for myself.
I don't need to hide away, hold back, or compare myself to anyone, because I am me, and I matter.
You are you, and you matter.
We are just right.
Beautiful and miraculous,
Exactly
as we are.
Even musicians want everyone to be known authentically. Holly Neer, who wrote our next song, made changes to correct her song to include everyone. She said in 2017, I wrote this song when Harvey Milk and George Moscone were assassinated in 1978. We originally sang We Are Gay and Lesbian Together, but then we were surrounded by the support of allies. And so I changed it to We Are Gay and Straight Together. And now we are learning more and more about gender and sexuality, and now it requires many more syllables than I can fit in the song. So I compromised, and we sing now, we are all in this together. So let us bless our teachers and children as they go on their way by singing 170, We Are a Gentle, Angry People, with the new verse. Please rise and embody your spirit. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are just a singing people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are just a singing people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are all in this together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are all in this together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. You may be seated.
We begin our time of prayer and meditation by holding the joys and concerns of those among us today in both the physical and virtual sanctuaries. We do speak one more, and that is a prayer for the citizens of those nations at war. We recognize the pain and trauma felt by many, yet caused by a few who forgot the humanity of the world, including their own. We remember that there is no us versus them, only all of us versus destruction. We pray for our own ability to remember the humanity in the world, the humanity sacred and worthy in each of us. And Kimberley asked me to share the words of Reverend David Miller. In the midst of crisis, can we look for humanity? In the midst of pain, can we provide comfort? In the midst of conflict, can we center reconciliation? In the midst of religion, can we practice love? And on the tablets of our hearts, let us affirm, in the midst of the world, I will find beauty. In the midst of the present, I will work for the future. In the midst of what's broken, I will promise compassion. In the midst of the other, I will see the divine. Amen, and blessed be.
I come on Sunday feeling weary, having worn out the snooze button on my alarm clock. I come in on Sunday feeling frightened, having seared my eyes reading the latest news. I come on Sunday feeling burdened, having fretted about my weekday worries. But I leave Sunday service feeling refreshed, having been renewed by the spirit of love in the community that exists here. I leave Sunday service feeling whole, feeling lifted up by the words of righteous challenge. I leave Sunday service feeling energized, ready to continue our fight for peace and justice. As a self-funded congregation, we do always need money, but also we need volunteers and social justice advocates and friendly smiles and diversity. So if you're ever unable to donate, You are always welcome here, no questions asked. We're grateful for anything you feel able and willing to give.
This morning, Georgiana and I will improvise something based on the energy of this space and of all of you and the world.
We often share readings from others, and sometimes it is simply because the writer is not here or long gone. Our reading today are actually 5 portions of poetry written by people as their coming out stories. And in this time, as Reverend Deb and Gary and Kathy and Chris and Terry share these excerpts, I hope we all can hear the truth of each other's words, the truth of these stories, the authenticity of these stories. We'll begin with Deb.
Mila Kuda writes, I'm gay like, almost, like lips, like the closet is cracked open, but some days I have to walk myself in, put my best femme forward. At the job interview, the mega bus station, my grandpa's funeral. I'm gay like every time I call myself gay. The men in my life take it upon themselves to say, well, what about Ben? What was that then? I'm gay like my only straight friend just came out. She said she would have known sooner if not for the folks always photoshopping her wedding pictures.
American poet and Pulitzer Prize winner Frank Bidart writes, "Quickly after my parents died, I came out. Foundational narrative designed to confer existence. If I had managed to come out to my mother, she would have blamed not me, but herself. The door through which you were shoved out into the light was self-loathing and terror."
Lee McCobie writes, "Naturally, I did not come out of the closet. The kids at my school opened it without my permission. They called me by a name I did not recognize, said lesbian. But I was more boy than girl, more Ken than Barbie. It had nothing to do with hating my body. I just love it enough to let it go. I treat it like a house. And when your house is falling apart, you do not evacuate. You make it comfortable enough to house all your insides. You make it pretty enough to invite guests over. You make the floorboards strong enough for you to stand on."
Chen Chen writes, "In the invitation, I tell them for the 17th time and the 4th in writing that I'm gay. In the invitation, I include a picture of my boyfriend and write, 'You have met him 2 times, but this time you will ask him things other than you can pass the whatever. You will ask him about him. You will enjoy dinner. You will be enjoyable. Please RSVP.'"
Andrea Gibson writes, "Your life every time airport security screams, 'Pink or blue, pink or blue,' trying to figure out what machine setting to run you through. Choosing your life and how that made you into someone who now often finds it easy to explain your gender by saying you are happiest on the road when you're not here or there, but in between, that yellow line running down the center of it all like a goddamn sunbeam. Your name is not a song you will sing under your breath. Your pronouns haven't been invented yet."
So, last month we talked a lot about belonging. What does it mean to belong in places that don't require you to fit in? How do we work toward belonging for everyone? As Reverend Paul spoke about and the choir has now twice sung about, how do we draw the circle wide? And what role does that play in making our community a place of belonging, a place where everyone can bring their authentic selves and be their authentic selves? It starts, I believe, with listening to each other's stories, truly listening to the stories, the experiences, the celebrations, the sorrows. And yes, I've talked before with you all about listening, how deep listening makes space for nuance, deep truths, discovery, deeper understanding. After all, our own stories are complex, And depending on how you tell your story, what you emphasize, what you leave out, what part you tell, what part you can tell, others may never actually know the whole story. But in the telling and the listening, you and others discover deeper truths about one another. And this is the lesson of National Coming Out Day, which this year fell this past Wednesday. Founded 35 years ago by Robert Eichberg and Jean O'Leary, National Coming Out Day initially was meant to promote ongoing visibility after the first Gay and Lesbian March on Washington in 1987. As Eichberg, who died of complications from AIDS in 1995, said in an interview, "Most people think they don't know anyone gay or lesbian, and in fact, everybody does. It is imperative that we come out and let people know who we are and disabuse them of their fears and stereotypes." At the time, the LGBTQIA community was dying from complications of HIV and AIDS, but also from violence. Discrimination was rampant. People kicked out of jobs, their homes, their families, their religious communities. Being queer was stigmatized, and harmful stereotypes kept many in the closet because they weren't gay like that, and their lives could be in danger. Yet without the stories, without the actual coming out into communities of belonging, nothing would have changed. National Coming Out Day reminded us of this, how it mattered that we didn't just lurk around clubs and acknowledge each other with a wink and a nod and maybe a creative metaphor, but that we speak out as best we could and help others along the way. Now, a lot has changed in these 35 years since the first National Coming Out Day. There's evidence of the moral arc of the universe bending toward justice. Yet, it still matters this day, not only because there are still those who cannot come out because of their own circumstances, but also because those of us who have come out have to come out again and again and again and again. And each time we tell our story, it changes. There's more to tell, or more nuance, or new things have happened, or there are other ways to tell it. And of course, just in the telling, those receiving, those listening, change the story too. My own story is complex. And in fact, as I stared at the blinking cursor on my screen as I was writing this sermon, blink, 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 I realized that while I want to tell you my story, I don't know which story to tell. Is it the one where I was jolted into awareness in 1985 at a bar by a gorgeous punk girl from Liverpool? Or is it the one where I first went to a pride march and saw someone I worked with and we realized we had just come out to each other? Or the one where I finally came out to my brother and he said, "Huh, color me surprised." Or the one about how I became an activist and helped lead pride marches and ate fire on the steps of the North Carolina Capitol and worked as an advocate to help save the life of a young gay man in the Smoky Mountains. Or the story of volunteering for the Names Project and being kind of a den mother to a group of young men, all HIV positive, as they cried over the too many panels of the AIDS quilt, and how they in turn held me as I burst into tears seeing one that I had helped create. Or maybe I tell the story about how I came out as bisexual in the early 2010s after having already been out for a really long time, but only coming out then because I had wrestled for over a decade with the stigma attached to the term bisexual. Or this new story, where I'm coming out to you, a congregation I know but whom I am not certain I have ever come out to. There are so many stories still untold or hinted at or safe to tell. And those of us who have told our stories are still hesitant sometimes, because we aren't always certain about how the story will be received, or how much of the story to tell, or whether we will be heard, or if we will now no longer belong. But if we are to draw the circle of love wide, we must listen to each other's stories and hold their authenticity. We must truly, deeply listen. Now, as I said, I've spoken here about listening, and in fact, as I reviewed previous sermons that I've delivered looking for nuggets I might borrow from myself, because that's a thing, I realized that I spoke at great length about listening from this pulpit, how hearing the complexities and more, believing the truth of those stories helps us do the work of liberation. Now, if you're really curious, go to YouTube and look for the sermon, "I Know This Much Is True," from January 26, 2020. And all that I said then is still true now. And we are complex human beings with complex stories, and trusting each other to be the authority of their own stories and trusting ourselves to be the authority of our own stories matters. This matters if we are not to prejudge situations or how to work for our collective liberation. But here in 2023, I realized that listening isn't enough. In addition to glimpses into my coming out stories, you've heard glimpses from several poets, and those are just the beginnings of the millions of coming out stories. Every person in this room who identifies somewhere on the LGBTQIA rainbow has multiple complex stories. Some they're able to share, some they aren't. Some they can share with the rest of you here, some they still can't. Those of us who tell our coming out stories both hold the door open for others to come through and guard the door for those still unable. Because it's still not safe. Not safe for every story, certainly not safe for every person in every location. It's certainly not safe for a trans colleague who had to leave a wonderful settled ministry in Florida for an interim in a state that was not actively trying to kill them. Certainly not for a gay colleague who can no longer do drag story hours in Oklahoma and wonders if he ever will again. Certainly not for the UUA staff member who was mugged in part because he was perceived as gay in New Orleans. It is those stories, those hard, scary stories that are happening right now in 2023 that are so vitally important to be heard. Because these are real lives, human lives at risk if they dare to be who they authentically are. And so listening in the circle wide is not just about hearing it, it means making it possible for people to be who they are authentically are, to live their stories out loud. Now, I've been out in some form or another since 1985. But I haven't always lived my story out loud. I hid still from many people for many years. I faced criticism and scorn. I lost friends. One in the middle of Lilith Fair, when an ex I was still friendly with introduced herself as having been one of my exes. And my now ex-friend spewed slurs and left in a flurry of rage. And yes, my ex-lover gave me a lift home. I nearly lost a job when suspicions were aroused by the flowers that a new partner had sent to my office, and I betrayed my own identity in order to keep the job. And then I had to come out to various institutions when my partner died in 1998 and fight for the rights that marriage equality had not yet granted us. And I'm still coming out. As a bisexual woman, it's shockingly difficult because bisexuality is invisible. People make assumptions about your sexuality depending on who you are with. And even this past Wednesday, a trivia teammate asked me if I was coming out as asexual because I didn't talk about a partner. Well, I had to tell him I was bi and single, and that the lack of a partner was a bug, not a feature. And many of my stories are fairly minor, some of them joyful, none of them terribly traumatic, many of them remarkably common. The stories of those whose lives have been in danger, whose lives are still in danger. The fact that they are willing to live their stories out loud anyway is brave and worthy of praise. National Coming Out Day in some ways gets easier every year as more and more people come out and as queerness gets more normalized, and I hate that word, but I couldn't think of anything else, more normalized, especially on television. Our under 40s are significantly more comfortable with queerness and sexual and gender identity than those of us over 40. Some of that is social media, some of that is growing up with a broader understanding of the range of sexual and gender expressions. And some of that is about sheer numbers. A few months ago, I helped a young colleague in their mid-20s lead a glitter blessing for a community I've been part of. And as folks came up to receive their blessing, made their line, I blessed my colleague with glitter and with pride in my eyes, and I affirmed the fullness of who they are. And then they blessed me with glitter with the words, "Thank you for being a strong queer elder." Now, I will tell you, in that moment, I had two thoughts. One, what a beautiful sacred moment we shared as we prepared to bless this community. And two, hang on, I'm now an elder. I texted a couple of friends about this with the wondering of how I'm not even 60 and how can I be an elder since there are other queer elders I look up to, including Mark Bellatini, one of the first openly gay ministers to be ordained in our faith. But my friends reminded me that we had lost so many people in the 80s and 90s to HIV and to violence, that there aren't many of us left. Of course you're an elder, they said. You were there and you survived. And then I remembered a moment in seminary, being part of a service where three of us told stories about HIV and AIDS. I think it was for a World AIDS Day remembrance. One of the three of us told a story about losing a partner. The second had a story about living with HIV, and I brought a story about caring for a beloved who died. But our stories were so hard, and we told each other our stories and didn't know if we could go on, but at some point one of us said, what if we told each other's? And so we did. We spoke each other's words, much like our readers spoke the poet's words. Hearing the pain and the truth and the authenticity of the stories. My fellow elders, survivors all, we ended that service with a call to come out and live our stories out loud. And that's what listening the Circle Wide is really about. Living our stories out loud, making space for authenticity and a fullness of expression. And now this isn't just about queerness, although it's about queerness too. It's about all of our stories, all the ways we exist in our bodies, in our families and communities of origin, our race and religion and culture and abilities, all of these complexities that make us who we are. Telling these stories is important, and it starts with listening, hearing our complex stories and making space for the stories that tell us more of who we are. And then doing that careful, thoughtful work to dismantle the structures that keep people out, that keep people hidden, that harm or have the potential to harm. It isn't easy. It sounds easy, but it's not, because it's personal work. It's letting go of prejudgment. It's communal work, encouraging each other on the road. It requires patience, and it requires our attention. But what a blessing when we make it possible for people to live their stories out loud. Oh, the stories we will hear, the complexity, the humor, the beauty, the pathos, the richness of humanity. When we make it possible for others to tell their stories, when we show them that we love and accept them for who and what they are, they will love themselves a bit more too. They will know their authentic selves a bit better too. And they will be able to lend a hand to the next person who needs that same kind of attention and love and honor. There's a lot of work to do for the liberation of all, to draw the circle of love wide. But it starts small, with listening people into being, listening them into their beautiful, authentic selves, to reminding them that they are worthy and whole and beloved. Laura Hershey reminds us of what we risk telling your story. You will bore them. Your voice will break, your ink will spill and stain your coat. No one will understand. Their eyes become fences. You will park yourself forever on the outside, your differentness, once and for all, revealed, dangerous. The names you give to yourself will become epithets. Your happiness will be called bravery, denial. Your sadness will justify their pity. Your fear will magnify their fears. Everything you say will prove something about their God or their economic system. Your feelings that change day to day, kaleidoscopic, will freeze in place, brand you forever, justify anything they decide to do with you. Those with power can afford to tell their story or not. Those without power risk everything to tell their story and must. Someone somewhere will hear your story and decide to fight, to live and refuse to compromise. Someone else will tell their own story, risking everything. And as we extinguish our flame, we send you with this invitation: risk everything, tell your story.
Thank you for being you and for being with us today. We'll ask that parents and caregivers pick up your children in 3rd grade or younger before joining us for coffee and conversation in the fireside area, so we can all help play defense for kids grabbing for cookies. Those with us online can connect to our virtual coffee hour space. And for those of you who would like to talk more about the sermon, world events, or whatever else feels important this morning, join our very first coffee hour discussion circle, and you'll look for Jane Dixon after worship. Are you in the room, Jane? You'll find Jane, and we'll help you find Jane if you're looking for her. At 11:45, please join the Board of Trustees for an open house in Fellowship Hall and an online in Zoom. And the 3rd Sunday Journey Group that usually meets today is being rescheduled for October 29th. Upcoming events this week include a meeting tomorrow of the revitalized Welcoming and Membership Committee at 7 o'clock on Zoom. You can see Mary Cavallero about that. On Wednesday at noon this week, there will be a Prayers for Peace vigil of local Unitarian congregations held at the UU congregation of the Hudson Valley in Croton. You can also participate online, and Reverend Kimberley has more information about that. And on Saturday evening, Walkabout Clearwater Coffee House will host the legendary folk singer John McCutcheon here in our sanctuary at 7:30, and there's a flyer about that in the hallway. The Ministerial Search Committee reminds anyone who hasn't yet, please complete their congregation survey. Your voice matters. All of our voices matter. I remember when we were in the process of renaming this congregation, I had only just joined, and I said, I just got here. I think maybe you should ask the other people who've been here. And Adine Usher said, your voice is important. You're here, and you are here. When you leave today, you put your little name tag in the basket, and you can find out about all this stuff and so much more in this very rich and vital community in our weekly newsletters and on our website.
And now we'd love to teach you a song to bless each other. I'm going to ask the forces to help us out here. So, if you consider yourself having a lower voice, you're going to sing this part, and then you'll follow along with Chris. Ba-dum beat up, ba-doo beat up, ba-doo board up, ba-doo board up, ba-doo beat up, ba-doo beat up, ba-doo board up, ba-doo board up, ba-doo beat up, ba-doo beat up, ba-doo board up, ba-doo board up, ba-doo beat up, ba-doo beat up, ba-doo board up, ba-doo board. Keep that going. And if you want to add a little harmony, you can follow Kim. And the rest of you who aren't singing, we're going to do a call and response. But it's got to come around again. Walk your walk, sing your song, it's your life, you belong, we are here, We are free. Don't you worry. Be what you're gonna be. Walk your walk. Sing your song. It's your life. You belong. We are here. We are free. Don't you worry. Be what you're gonna be. Let's sing it out. Walk your walk. Sing your song. It's your life. You belong. We are here. We are free. Don't you worry. Be what you're gonna be. One more time. Walk your walk. Sing your song. It's your life. You belong. We are here. We are free. Don't you worry. Be what you're gonna be. Be what you're gonna be. It has been a gift to be together today. So please spend the next couple of minutes talking to someone you don't know. Escort them to coffee hour and other events, and may we all know the blessings of friendship.